Hello and welcome back to Stress Unplugged. I'm your host Dr. Ram Prakash, and today we are diving into a fascinating world of the science behind stress. In our last episode, we talked about what stress is and how it was once useful for our caveman ancestors. Today, we are bringing that story to the modern world and exploring what happens inside your brain and body when you feel stressed. Let's start with a story about Ramesh, a college student who's about to take the biggest exam of his life. The night before the exam, he's tossing and turning in bed, replaying every lecture in his head, heart racing and palms sweating. As the clock ticks closer to midnight, he's wide awake, and despite all his hard work, he feels less prepared than ever. So what's happening inside Ramesh's body? Why does stress seem to take over, especially in moments like these? When we feel stressed, our body goes into what's called the fight or flight mode, something we mentioned in the last episode. But what's really going on beneath the surface? Let's break it down. Imagine your brain is like a control center, and the area responsible for dealing with stress is called the amygdala, your brain's alarm system. Whenever you encounter a stressful situation, the amygdala sends a distress signal to another part of your brain, the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus acts like a command center, communicating with the rest of your body through the nervous system. Now, this is where things get interesting. Once the hypothalamus sends the signal, your adrenal gland jumps into action, releasing stress hormones, specifically adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline gives you that immediate rush. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tense, and you get a sudden burst of energy. That's why Ramesh feels his heart pounding, and that's why he's wide awake even though he's physically exhausted. Cortisol, on the other hand, is a long-term stress hormone. Its job is to keep the body on high alert for longer periods. It ensures your body has enough energy to deal with the stress by increasing glucose in your bloodstream, which fuels your brain and body. In small doses, these systems work perfectly. For Ramesh, in the short term, it helps him stay alert and focused during his exam. But here is the catch. If this system stays activated for too long, like it does with chronic stress, it can have serious consequences. Let's think about Ramesh again. After weeks of studying, poor sleep and constant worry, his body has been flooded with cortisol for too long. As a result, he feels mentally foggy, has trouble remembering what he studied, and is more irritable than usual. Why? Because when cortisol levels stay high for extended periods, they start to interfere with brain function, especially the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning, the hippocampus. When stress becomes chronic, your brain actually begins to shrink in some areas, and that's why it becomes harder to concentrate, solve problems, or make decisions. It's also why chronic stress can lead to anxiety and depression. The very thing that helped us survive danger is now hurting us when it stays too long. But stress doesn't stop at the brain, it affects the body too. When cortisol is released over a long period, it raises your blood pressure, disrupts your digestive system, and even weakens your immune system. That's why people under constant stress are more likely to get sick, have digestive issues, or feel exhausted all the time. It's all connected. So in Ramesh's case, the stress response was helpful at first, keeping him sharp and alert for his exams. But the longer his stress lasted, the more sleep he lost, the more anxious he became, the more his body began to suffer. The bottom line is, stress isn't just in your head. It's a full body experience that affects your brain, heart, digestion, immune system, and more. The key is learning how to manage it before it becomes chronic, which we will dive into our upcoming episode. So, what can you do to stop stress from taking over? In our next episode, we'll explore how stress affects your mind, body, and behavior, and how to recognize the signs before they go out of your control. Thanks for tuning in to Stress Unplugged. If you're feeling stressed right now, take a moment, a pause, and breathe. Sometimes a small reset is all we need to quit the noise. See you next time on the next episode of Stress Unplugged.